Our most important segment of the day, where we're going to begin, is to announce to you and to the world the release of a major new work at revcom.us. It is called Something Terrible or Something Truly Emancipating, Profound Crisis, Deepening Divisions, the Looming Possibility of Civil War, and the Revolution that is Urgently Needed. A necessary foundation, a basic roadmap for this revolution. By Bob Avakian, revolutionary leader, author of The New Communism. This is a major work. It's available now at revcom.us. You can read it there. You can listen to the audio from Bob Avakian delivering this. You can print it out as a PDF, but get into it. In a few minutes, I'm going to bring you edited excerpts of an interview, a conversation that I was able to host between two leaders of the National Revolution Tour, two followers of Bob Avakian. But before we go there, we want to play you the opening few minutes of this talk to let you hear from Bob Avakian directly. Let's listen.
Something terrible or something truly emancipating. Profound crisis, deepening divisions, the looming possibility of civil war, and the revolution that is urgently needed. A necessary foundation, a basic roadmap for this revolution. By Bob Avakian, revolutionary leader, author of The New Communism. In the course of this talk, I will be referring to and digging further into key points that are put forward in two very important documents which are featured on our website, revcom.us. A declaration, a call to get organized now for a real revolution, and an article of mine following up on that declaration and call. This is a rare time when revolution becomes possible. Why that is so, and how to seize on this rare opportunity. So, for everyone getting into this talk, everyone who cares about the crucial questions it is speaking to, it is also important to take up or return to and get deeply into those documents as well, and to go regularly to revcom.us and watch the weekly YouTube show, Revolution, Nothing Less, both of which sharply illustrate why a real revolution is urgently needed and is possible, what are the goals of this revolution, and how to be part of building for this revolution. What I will be speaking to here is, as the title says, a necessary foundation and a basic roadmap for this revolution. One other point. I am going to say what needs to be said about the way things are, why they are that way, where things are headed, and what needs to be done to radically change this in a positive way. And as part of that, I am going to bluntly speak some truth that is bound to offend some people. I do this because the stakes in all this are so high, and, to refer to a line from Bob Dylan, the hour is getting late, and there is no time to speak falsely now. But I do this not out of a sense that people are so deeply caught up in that they cannot break with ways of thinking and acting which serve to perpetuate their own oppression and degradation, and that of others as well. No, I am doing this precisely out of the understanding that masses of people not only need to, but can make a profound break with this, that they can radically change themselves as part of, and in the process of, radically changing the world in an emancipating way. So let's get to it. Here is the heart of the matter. Many people, including someone like Martin Luther King, have argued that attempting to carry out a revolution to overthrow this system is suicidal, particularly for Black people in this country, when in fact, Black people and masses of other oppressed and exploited people profoundly and desperately need this revolution. The reality is that such a revolution can succeed, but this is possible, particularly up against powerful ruling forces like in this country, only in rare times and circumstances. And here is a very important truth. This is one of those rare times and circumstances. This rare time must not be wasted, squandered, thrown away. Rather, revolution must be actively prepared for and vigorously, consistently worked for, now and in an ongoing way, to build up the scientifically oriented and powerfully organized forces for, and to prepare the ground for, this revolution.
That was the voice of Bob Avakian in the opening few minutes of this profound new work that has just been released at revcom.us. A moment ago, I said we were going to talk with two leaders of the National Get Organized for an Actual Revolution Tour, two followers of Bob Avakian, about the significance of this talk, inviting you into it and to the work of taking it up. The first of these people you know well. He is the host, Andy Zee, of the RNL show. And also with us to get into this is Lenny Wolff. Welcome to the Revolution Nothing Less show.
Hello, Sunsara. Hi, Andy. Good to see you.
To get us started, Lenny, I wanted to ask you if you could just react to the first few minutes that we heard. And in particular as well, the main title of this work, Something Terrible or Something Truly Emancipating.
Every time I hear it, something strikes me a little differently. And this time I've fixed on the quote from the Bob Dylan song, "Let us not speak falsely now, the hour is getting late." And both of those things run through this talk. The hour is getting late. That's the speaks to the something terrible that people do broadly see around them. The something truly emancipating is what people do not see around them. It's what you need the science that Bob Avakian has brought forward to see underneath the real, to see into the real dynamics, the real conflicts that are driving things forward. But if we don't speak the truth, if we speak falsely, then we will squander what we have in front of us. This talk speaks the truth. There's not a false word in it. It's provocative. It goes at everything that's holding people back from revolution and from the standpoint of needing to make revolution to actually deal with the situation we face.
Andy, I want to read something that is in Bob Avakian's piece, This is a Rare Time When Revolution Becomes Possible, why that is so, and how to seize on this rare opportunity. We've cited it a number of times on this show, and BA quotes it again in this new piece. And I'm going to read a quote from it and let you respond. He says, "These divisions among the ruling powers and in the larger society cannot be resolved within the framework that has existed and has held things together for nearly 150 years, since shortly after the end of the Civil War, which led to the abolition of slavery. They cannot be resolved on the basis of the capitalist democracy, which has been the normal means of capitalist rule, really dictatorship, for so long." Andy?
Well, yeah, just a few pages later in that work, and it's cited again here, that the country, these deep divisions in the conflict cannot be overcome, cannot be put back together on the terms and the way the country has been ruled up to now. So that's up for grabs now. You can ignore that, and many people are, or you can deal with it. Bob Avakian is getting to you straight in this thing. There's no bullshit here. He's going right to the truth, as Lenny said. He's going right to that hard truth that we are facing either a radical resolution on violent terms, either reactionary violence and murderous oppression, which is what this whole Trumpist fascist Republican Party means, or it can be resolved through an actual revolution. And the fact that there is this conflict gives rise to that. And see, here's what nobody else recognizes, that in this extreme negative situation, There is a potential for something positive. Why? Because the situation is going to be so extreme, so revealing of the actual nature of things, that if there is a force out there who has gotten deeply into the work of Bob Avakian, including this work as a very key document for this moment in history, then, and that puts forward there is a way out of this horror, there is a way out of this madness, and organizes on that basis, then there is the possibility of, rather than a horrible future, almost unthinkable in where it's going, including the fate of humanity hangs in whether or not we're able to resolve the environmental crisis, then there's the possibility of an actual revolution for the emancipation of all of humanity. And that's a very big deal.
Here, I wanted to ask a little bit more about actually some of what we heard in the opening from BA, where he says, I'm going to speak the truth very bluntly. Some of it is going to be bound to offend some people, but he doesn't do it to offend people.
People are not blank slates. People need to be struggled with. This talk wages that struggle.
Mm-hmm.
All this wokester stuff, all these people walking around woke, all this identity politics, all this you can't touch the black church, you can't say anything about religion among the oppressed, you can't go against the way women are commodifying themselves in some cases and claiming it's empowering and liberating. And all this and more, because why? Because to settle accounts? No. This is done from the standpoint of what is standing between masses of people and revolution. It is true people have to see the way forward, but it can't just be going to people with that way forward. With part of the roadmap is actually, what do you struggle with people about, and how do you struggle with them in this period? And I think that's something really, there's a tremendous amount of work done in this talk, that it's true what Andy's saying. It builds on work that goes back, that's been a hallmark of BA forever, but it's based on an understanding that people walk around with ways of understanding the world, frameworks for understanding the world that are created by the system, either consciously created by the system or spontaneously generated by the relations in which people are forced to live in a capitalist, imperialist, white supremacist, patriarchal system. And I really want to challenge, again, people to get into this. And this is giving a lot of guidance on how to wage that struggle with people, too.
Yeah. BA is on fire in this piece. I mean, and relentless in the best way. One other thing I wanted to touch on from what we heard, and it's how BA opens this talk. He says, let's get to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
And he cites Martin Luther King. And it's a feeling that's out there among many people that revolution, especially in a country as powerful as this one, would be suicide to attempt a revolution, and especially for Black people.
When he talks about the heart of the matter, let's get to the heart of the matter. Many people, including someone like Martin Luther King, have argued that attempting to carry out a revolutionary overthrow would be suicidal. And you do hear that. I mean, that does sit like a weight on people who are actually confronting the situation, who are truly confronting it and not just looking at, well, we just have to prepare for a period of regression, or, some of the outs that you're pointing to that people take. And again, the fact that he, in this talk, calls that out at the beginning and proceeds to answer that question, the heart of the matter in this talk, is something of great, great importance. It's a big weight, potentially, again, what Andy's saying, depending on what we do with this, that can actually unleash a lot of things. It's not there's a whole roadmap that encompasses struggling with how people think, that encompasses leading people to struggle against what the capitalist imperialists are doing, and not just the fascists, although including the fascists. But I think that particular point is just something I wanted to foreground, as long as we're still talking on this very rich opening 5 minutes of the talk.
what all of those dimensions are they should be invitations into. Really the whole purpose of us talking about this here today is an invitation to you to get into this work yourself. He's talking about overthrow. In this being a time when that could be ripened and potentially won. Andy, I know you get hit by this a lot of many different ways. I know right up at Revolution Books, people come in and they think different ideas. Can you say a few words about a real revolution?
We are talking about you have to overthrow this system and this system of capitalism, imperialism that gives rise to all these things that create so much oppression. You've got to get rid of the system that does this. But then comes the question that this system is enforced with the largest and most powerful military in history, massive police forces, massive judiciary, and mass incarceration. That is not a joke. That is something that in a revolution has to be met and defeated. And there is this basic strategy and framework for that Bob Avakian has developed. In this new piece, he gets into strategically how we could actually go at this by, as Lenny just brought out, struggling very sharply with people about how they think and what they're thinking and the way that they're caught within the framework of the system, including believing this is the greatest country for all its problems. It's the greatest country. It's an American chauvinism. They don't think about the other 7 billion people on the planet. But more than that, there's a higher level of understanding and synthesis of the process by which we accumulate forces and put up a pole for revolution. There's things that are put together in this talk that have never been put together before in this way, that create that roadmap for how you could actually, how we being the RevComs, together with all of you watching this show and listening to this, and all those who hear about this talk and start reading it and listening to it, hear it about on the radio in different ways and in social media, can begin to go to work on forging an organized force that is impacting millions of people in society, that's garnering thousands of followers of Bob Avakian now, training hundreds of people to be leaders. That this force, in the changing conditions that we're going to be facing and that we're already facing, but it's going to get sharper. That's going to compel people to not only not put up with it, but to actually start wondering, how does this, where is this coming from? Does it have to be this way? Why has it always been this way? If there's people out there with the answers, number one, and number two, with a way to actually change it. And there's a strategy for that that's in this talk that has never been developed before.
Well, I want to ask you, Lenny, before we close out this segment, if there's anything else that you want to leave our viewers with, anything else as a prompt, as an invitation into this talk and into taking up what it lays out.
Every single one of you has a choice to make. You are living in an historic time. You need to read this talk. You need to sit down as soon as you can, put on the audio, read along with it if that's how you process it. But this talk is going to challenge you in the best way possible. It's going to give you an understanding of what has led us to this situation. It's going to speak truth to a lot of things that you might feel are true, but it's going to be undeniable what's brought. It might not be things you want to hear, but it's going to be things you need to hear. He won't spare you on that because he respects everybody too much to do that. And because this cause, the emancipation of all humanity, is too important. There's a roadmap here on how to wage that struggle with other people. There's a roadmap here on how we could actually go do exactly what Andy said just now so that we don't squander an opportunity, or so that we don't just sit around and wait for such an opportunity either. But that we move beginning now, beginning today, to actually transform the situation we face. People, it is true. The hour is late. And not only can we not speak falsely, but we cannot sit and wait. We've got to face the situation. This talk could actually change. The impact that this talk could have on humanity can't be underestimated, but it has to be taken up. It has to be read. It has to be spread, and it has to be applied.
Andy, any final word you want to add?
Well, I just wanted to say first, I'm glad to have Lenny Wolff back on the show with me.
As am I.
That's great. But second thing is, if you think about that, revolution could be possible, where you could get rid of a system that has built into it all these things that cause so much hardship, that kill, destroy lives, crush people's spirits, that you could actually get rid of that and emancipate, get on the road to emancipate all of humanity. This is historic. And there's an invitation to you here to get into that and to not flinch from the deepest and most profound and most liberating analysis of all this. And that there's an invitation, but there's also a dare. Dare to struggle and dare to win.
All right, so the title again, Something Terrible or Something Truly Emancipating. Profound crises, deepening divisions, the looming possibility of civil war, and the revolution that is urgently needed. A necessary foundation, a basic roadmap for this revolution by Bob Avakian, revolutionary leader, author of The New Communism, available now at revcom.us. Print it out, listen to it. We're going to continue to get into this. We'll have Lenny back in the future. Andy will stay with us. I want to thank you both for joining us on this first episode since this work has been released. I think it's really important.
Great. Thanks for having me.